We start.
Yes, madam. Good morning, everyone. It is our privilege to welcome Dr. Shalini Rajesh Madam, Chief Secretary to the Government of Karnataka, to address our 6-day NAKSHA training program for southern states. Here is a brief note on Madam's achievement and services. Madam joined the Indian Administrative Service in the year 1989 as woman topper at the age of 22 years. Madam has received gold medal in BA and MA Psychology from Punjab University. Madam has completed PhD in Rural Development from Bangalore University and MBA from Latrobe University, Australia. Considering Madam's achievement and contribution to human empowerment, public administration, and also her passion for implementing the government schemes effectively for the welfare of women, the Karnataka State Women's University has honored Madam with Doctorate of Literature in 2013. Madam has written 13 books and 8 in English and 5 in Kannada. Madam has worked in many capacities with Government of India in the Ministries of Finance, Civil Aviation, Shipping, Agriculture and Road Transport. In Karnataka State, as Secretary DPAR, Madam is instrumental in implementing Karnataka Guarantee of Services to Citizen Act, popularly known as Sakala, which delivers 1,201 services to citizens, covering 101 departments within stipulated time. On to 28th November 2015, Madam has got G5's Exceptional Contribution to Governance Award, Sakala ISO 9001 certification received within 2 months for the first in the country. Madam has also worked as Principal Secretary, Health and Family Welfare, Principal Secretary Primary and Secondary Education, and also Additional Chief Secretary Planning and Statistical Department for 5 years. Madam published a trillion GDP action plan for the state. It's India's first integrated CSR platform. NAKSHA, built in association with UNDP, was awarded the India CSR Award in 2022. As Chief Secretary, Additional Chief Secretary, Youth Empowerment and Sports Department successfully organized Kalo India University Games 2022 and National Youth Festival 2023. As Additional Chief Secretary and Development Commissioner from November 2023 to 2024, Madam has worked for enhancement of states GDP by optimizing resources of agriculture, horticulture and animal husbandry and coordinating credit-linked programs with bankers. We are honored to have Madam to share our insights and perspectives with us today, and we look forward to learn from our vast experience. Let's extend a warm welcome to the Madam. Thank you, Madam.
Shall I get started?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you very much for this opportunity to address the officers from the urban local bodies particularly, who are going to implement NAKSHA project, the National Geospatial Knowledge-Based Survey for Urban and Semi-Urban Habitats. Let me at the outset thank the Department of Land Resources, Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India, who has sponsored this project of creating geospatial maps for the entire country, including our state. Karnataka has done already lot of progress in computerization as well as geospatial planning. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Karnataka Remote Sensing Application Center, wherein every government asset has been geospatially mapped. Every piece of land has a digital thematic map with a very high resolution using the latest satellite imagery. and is being continuously updated for the benefit of not just the government officials, but also for the citizens at large. Karnataka at a glance, for example, is an online, real-time updation of all government related uh, assets and functions on the GIS portal brought out by the planning department of the state. Looking at NAKSHA, we have been able to digitize electronically the land records with the historic Bhumi project in Karnataka. Every parcel of the land has been digitized, and now we do it in a spatial manner. So we have a 3D kind of a dimension. We can use it with different parameters and then make it available for various decision making. Now, why is it that this is so essential to the land administration, both in urban and rural areas? As you know, the government is the major regulatory as well as a repository of all land administration, be it rural or urban. And if you look at the statistics of the cases which are there in any court, starting from the district courts to the High Court and the Supreme Court, majority of them are on land account. Either it is a property related dispute, or it is a survey related dispute, or it is a land acquisition related dispute, etc. Now, all these disputes can be very easily resolved if both government and the citizens have clarity about the real situation on ground. Which land belongs to forest, which land belongs to revenue, which land belongs to panchayats, which land belongs to private sector, and so on. The maps should be available online and not dependent on the surveyors who at their whims and fancies will make whatever kind of sketches they like. I remember 35 years ago when I was assistant commissioner and Karnataka was going through a big reform movement of land reforms, the act that was brought in. The objective was to give the land to the tiller. Unfortunately, the documentary evidence of the tillers, the tenants, was not clearly available. Therefore, those cases have been fought in the courts over and over again. And by now, I think majority of them have settled down. Those who are actually cultivating the land have got the title of the land in their name. And as you know, that over the years with the increase in population, the lands are getting fragmented, the disputes are increasing, and finally, the piece of land which is left with one nuclear family, so to say, is too small to be productive. This is the story of the rural side. But when we look at the urban side, it shows a hugely unplanned habitation coming up overnight also, without any proper regulation, without any proper administration and updation. And that's why NAKSHA is very, very important. Our Honorable Chief Minister recently held, about 3 months back, he held a meeting of all the concerned departments, particularly the urban department. Because when he holds these Janta Darshan programs, the biggest grievance that the urban dwellers share with him is that we do not have a clear title. There's something called A Khata and there's something called B Khata. A Khata, where the title is clear. I own this land by virtue of either it is my parental property or I have bought it. Legally, I have bought it, I have paid the stamp duty on it, I have got the mutation done in my name. But unfortunately, 40 to 50% of the people have not been able to get the right documentary evidence. Some unscrupulous elements have been actually defrauding common man by giving them one piece of paper, sometimes even stamp paper, saying that okay, there is an agreement and you can, this piece of land belongs to you and you give so much money. Without knowing what they're doing, what is the legal implication of that, people have been in possession of pieces of land, basically houses, basically dwelling units, and they have been, when they go for the property tax, then the urban development machinery says, sorry, you don't have a right document to prove your title and therefore I cannot make the title in your name. And unless the title is in his name, God forbid, if he needs this for another transaction, he wants to sell it or he wants to go for even building of his house, permanent building, he will not get the permission to build, he will not get other facilities also. On the contrary, the municipal bodies would levy taxes on them as penalties just because that they are there. At least to that extent, they have some data or documentary evidence to show that they are in place for last 10, 20, 30, 40 years. So this is the state of affairs when we look at the private property in urban area. When we look at the government property in urban area, another very, very serious dimension, which I'm sure all of you are aware, is that the government property is getting encroached day by day. We were known as a city of lakes, if I talk of Bangalore, and a state of lakes for this entire state jurisdiction, because our planners, the erstwhile rulers, were so methodical. They knew the ridge to valley concept. They knew where the water is going to be stored. And there are 40,000 water bodies, tanks or lakes you call it, which have been constructed all over the state, depending upon the flow of the rainfall. Now this is something when no geospatial planning facilities were available, but they did it with whatever technology, whatever knowledge they had. But today, it is so much easier for us to find out what is the flow of water, where is the obstruction to the tank, or we also know, we can see physically who is encroaching the boundaries of the lake or the road or any other public property for that matter. Our stormwater drains, our other public properties are also in a way compromised. And what happens is the disaster happens when we have heavy rains or floods, and these water streams, their way is blocked, and you find that the people then realize the foolishness of that short-term compromise which they did. Not just the government people and it's both private people and the government people, both collude to do this unrealistic and illegal planning for their assets, which is again something which can be brought under complete control using this technology. The third important aspect is the real estate developers. Obviously, the city has high land value, and the developers take a piece of land. Sometimes it is even government land, and sometimes it is private land, sometimes it is a forceful occupation of a particular piece of land. They will create some layouts, they will distribute it to people, and then just disappear. Now the laws of the municipal body, wherein you have to get the layout approval as per the plan approved by the town planning authority, wherein there has to be a proper residential area, proper road approaches for each and every house. There has to be a CA site, that's a community asset. For the community assets, you should have locally a small school or a small clinic, etc. You need the other drinking water, street light, and other facilities, common infrastructure facility, roads. All this has to be provided. And lung space, green area, very important. Now all this is compromised. People don't have approach roads, people don't have drains, people don't have a lung space, they don't have the common site also. The Government of Karnataka, based on the data that we have, the geospatial data that we already have, we have come out with an online platform which is done by our e-governance department, where it is called ULMS, where the urban local management system. So what are we trying to do? We are trying to see how, as a one-time measure, can we regularize in a way whatever unauthorized development that has already taken place. So we have come out with some amendments, we've come out with some rules wherein if a colony has been developed unauthorizedly, then either the present users, they contribute for ensuring that these basic services for the community are made available, and the government ensures that the land for the road, etc., is now at least put into the government records of the ULB, so that tomorrow there are no disputes with relation to the right of way, which is the biggest problem today in the urban areas also. So this is one part of the management system. The second is that land use planning. I find that in Bangalore alone, which is growing by leaps and bounds, we are increasing our population by, beyond stretch of imagination. So we are trying to see how best we can come out with our land use plan. Now we find at present that because of a lack of proper land use plan in place, the residential areas have all kinds of commercial, industrial, and other usages, and vice versa. So it's totally hodgepodge in many areas, not all, but newly developing areas. And as we go on adding the rural areas into the periphery of, say, Greater Bangalore, the problem is much worse. So what is the solution? The solution is that whether rural or urban, across the boundaries, not just across the boundaries of within the state of urban local bodies and rural local bodies, but beyond the states also. That means for the country as a whole, we require a seamless platform which is transparent. Anyone should be able to go, click, and see who is the owner of which property and who is not following the rules or the government guidelines, and therefore encroaching and so on. So that itself can check the violations by the people by making it proactively available to the public domain. The second very important thing is a planning as a concept. So whether it's a rural area or an urban area, are we planning our land in such a way that the unnecessary crisscrossing of population transport is avoided? Now today Bangalore, everybody talks of congestion, traffic congestion. Why? Because person who stays in one corner, say north of Bangalore, has to travel every day to south of Bangalore. Maybe he's working in Electronic City, but his own house is in north of Bangalore. And then every day, morning, evening, peak hours, there's a huge crisscross. Similarly, wherever I'm staying, there is a huge demand for, let's say, one particular school in the city. So everybody wants to send their child to that city. Now, I belong to Chandigarh, which is the most planned city of the country. It was planned by Le Corbusier, a French architect, way back in the 1950s. And today, if you see, after more than half a century also, the congestion, the crisscrossing, and all that is largely avoided. Why? Because within 1 kilometer area of any neighborhood, any residential area, you will get all your basic necessities. You will have a market, you will have a school, you will have the hospital or clinic or stuff like that, which you require on day-to-day basis. So you don't really have to cross this 1 kilometer boundary, and therefore the traffic on the main arterial roads is reduced. So this is the kind of planning we as urban local body administrators are trying to look at. So you will now get a bigger picture on the screen or on your table. You can see the entire state of affairs. You can see where things are growing beyond the seams, beyond the regular boundaries which are defined by the rules. And therefore, what is our task? See, technology and tool has been provided by the program, but unless we all make up our mind to make use of this, to ensure that at least now onwards, our urban areas as well as rural areas, which are going to become urban tomorrow, are well planned. There is no violation of the basic requirements of the land use, and people follow this land use, and we also use the online management system so that people don't have to come to the offices of different departments and keep asking for various NOCs and approvals and all that. Everything should be online. It should be transparent. It should be empowering each one of us. So the officers as well as the citizens, both of them should get empowered, and this is very, very critical for a good municipal administration in the days to come. So I'm sure all of you will really enjoy and involve yourself, make use of these inputs, see how you can transform your urban area or a city from which you belong, and make a difference before you leave that job. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I'll be very happy to learn from the course director the kind of inputs that all of you must have given, your suggestions, your experiences on how to improve urban governance in the days to come. Why should we reinvent the wheel? If you have already invented the wheel, please share with us, and we will replicate the success stories. Let the entire country stand as a global model for the other countries to follow as far as governance of land is concerned. Thank you very much and wish you the very best.
Sushma, on behalf of the organizing team and participants, I extend a heartfelt thanks to our madam. Lucky is this team that got a chance to be a madam, despite of her busy schedule and unending. She could give us possible time, and she makes the point to see that it is possible maximum she wants to address the trainees and talk to them so that the administration and governance is really the best response we could give. Thank you so much for your evaluation and for your concern. Thank you so much.
Thank you.